The cold room, the wind howled outside the broken walls of the ancient alien facility. Snow and dust blew in from cracks in the metal. Jack pulled his jacket tighter and stepped over a rusted pipe. His boots made soft thuds on the frozen floor. The building was old, very old. His scanner beeped quietly, showing small signs of energy somewhere deeper inside. Jack was a scavenger, nothing more. He searched for scrap, old tech, anything valuable. Today, this dead place was just another stop, or so he thought. He walked past broken doors and flickering lights, deeper into the shadows. His hand held a flashlight, and his other held a small plasma cutter. The deeper he went, the colder it got. A thick frost covered the walls. Jack shivered but kept moving. Suddenly the scanner gave a loud beep. Life form detected, it said in a robotic voice. Jack froze. Life form? Here, he whispered. He looked around. Everything was dead: machines, plants, lights. No sound but the wind. But the scanner beeped again and pointed toward a sealed metal door. He approached it carefully. The door was locked, but old. Jack used his cutter and sliced through the frozen bolts. Sparks flew. Metal cracked open with a loud bang. A puff of cold air hit his face. The room beyond was dark, except for one soft, green glow in the middle. Jack stepped inside slowly. The chamber was round and smooth. Strange symbols glowed on the floor. In the center stood a tall glass capsule, half covered in frost. A dim light glowed from inside it. Jack walked closer and then stopped, stunned. Inside the capsule was a girl. No, not human, but beautiful. Young, maybe his age. Her skin was a soft silver blue, almost glowing in the dim light. Long hair floated slightly around her, as if underwater. She wore a strange white suit, tight but simple, with tubes connected to the pod. Her eyes were closed. Her face looked calm, peaceful, untouched. Jack stared for a long moment. She's alive? He placed a hand on the glass. Suddenly, her fingers twitched. Jack jumped back. His heart raced. He looked at the scanner again. It was blinking fast green, not red. She wasn't dangerous. She was stable, alive, but asleep. Stasis pod, he whispered. She's been frozen. He walked slowly around the pod. A control panel blinked softly on one side. Jack tapped a few buttons. Old alien symbols appeared. He didn't understand most of them, but one word blinked again and again in red. Forbiddance. Jack frowned. Why would they lock her in here? Who was she? A prisoner? A secret weapon? He turned back to the pod. His eyes softened. Her face looked gentle. Sad, even. Not the face of a criminal or a monster. I don't know who you are, Jack whispered, but you've been alone a long time. The wind outside grew stronger. The building creaked around him. Snow began to fall inside through the cracks. Jack looked up. He had to leave soon. But he couldn't just walk away, not after seeing her. He touched the glass again. This time her eyes fluttered slightly, just for a second. Jack's breath caught in his throat. He backed away slowly, not wanting to scare her. But nothing else happened. She didn't wake up. He stared at her one more time. Then he pulled off his glove and pressed his bare hand to the glass. A soft light traveled from his hand across the surface, glowing like lines on a circuit. Inside, the girl's eyes opened. They glowed softly, purple and bright. Jack froze. The girl blinked slowly. She saw him. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Then, her hand pressed weakly against the glass, right where his hand was. Neither moved. The silence was heavy, ancient. Then, something deeper inside Jack stirred a feeling he didn't expect. Not fear, not wonder. Responsibility. He couldn't leave her here. He didn't know who she was, or why she was locked away. But someone had put her in a box for a very long time. Untouched, forgotten. She didn't look angry or dangerous. She looked scared. And lonely. Jack stepped back and looked around the room. No cameras, no guards, no alarms, whoever buried her. Here was gone, but she remained. Waiting. Jack turned off his cutter, looked her in the eyes, and said, "Don't worry. I'll come back." She blinked slowly, like she understood. Then Jack turned and ran back through the cold hallway, snow swirling behind him. The wind outside screamed louder, but in his chest, something warm had started to burn. Awakening. Snowstorm outside had grown worse. Winds slammed against Jack's small ship as he docked it near the entrance of the old alien ruins once more. He wrapped himself in a thick coat, grabbed a heated food pack, and hurried back into the icy dark. He couldn't stop thinking about her. The girl in the capsule, her glowing purple eyes, the way her hand had pressed weakly against his. Something deep inside him had changed when he saw her face. She had been alone for centuries, forgotten, yet she had opened her eyes for him. Same thoughts circled in his head. I can't leave her there. He returned to the cold chamber. The pod's soft green light still glowed. She was still awake barely. Her fingers tapped slowly against the glass, weak and unsure. She looked at Jack. When he entered, "I'm back," he said gently. Of course, she didn't understand the words. But her eyes followed him. Her lips moved slowly. She was trying to speak, but her voice was too weak. Jack knelt by the control panel. The symbols were hard to read, but one section looked like a power regulator. "I think this is the release," he whispered. He reached into his toolkit and rewired a small power core into the system. Sparks flew. The panel lit up and a deep hum filled the room. The pod's light grew brighter. Mist hissed from the edges of the glass as it slowly began to open. Jack stood back, tense. The glass lifted. Warm steam rolled out, mixing with the icy air. The girl's body shifted. She gasped suddenly and coughed hard. Her knees gave out, and she fell forward. Jack rushed in and caught her before she hit the floor. She was light, far too light. Her body was thin, weak from stasis. Her skin felt cool, almost soft like velvet. She trembled in his arms, not from fear, but from shock. He gently wrapped her in his jacket. "Easy. You're okay now," he said. She blinked up at him, her glowing eyes wide and unsure. Her lips moved again. Re-a. It wasn't a name he knew. He carried her out of the chamber and through the ruined halls. Her head rested on his shoulder. She didn't fight him. In fact, her fingers lightly held his shirt as if afraid he would vanish. Inside the ship, Jack set her down on the small bunk and wrapped her in heat blankets. The warmth made her shiver, then relax. He sat nearby and handed her a steaming food pouch. She looked at it curiously. When he opened it and took a small bite to show her, she copied him, slowly, carefully. Her mouth twisted from the flavor, but she didn't stop eating. Hunger, even after centuries, was still real. Jack leaned back. "Guess you like stew." She tilted her head, watching his lips as he spoke. She seemed to be studying him, memorizing his face, his voice. Her fingers touched her chest lightly. "Si, Yen." Jack blinked. "That your name?" She nodded, double quotes, "S-I-E-N." He repeated, "I'm Jack." She tried to say it. Jack, he smiled. Close enough. A small pause passed between them. The ship was quiet except for the of the heater. Then, slowly, she reached out and touched his hand. It was a simple touch, but Jack felt it like lightning. No one had touched her in years. She didn't even know him. Yet she trusted him, just a little. He saw fear in her eyes. But under it, he saw something else. Hope. She leaned back against the wall, exhausted. Her eyes half closed. But before sleep pulled her away, she whispered something soft in her language. Jack didn't understand it, but she smiled for the first time, and that was enough. He stayed awake the whole night, watching over her, outside. The storm raged. Inside, warmth returned to a soul that had been frozen for centuries. And in that small ship, far from any world, the first seed of a bond had quietly been born, not from words, but from touch, from care, from something she had never known before: kindness. The forgotten one Scene woke slowly, wrapped in warmth she had not felt in a very long time. Her body still ached, and her skin tingled with strange feelings. She turned her head. Jack was sitting on the floor near the ship's console, quietly eating from a metal bowl. When he saw her open her eyes, he gave a soft smile. "You're awake," he said. She sat up carefully. Her hands still shook a little. The blankets fell from her shoulders. She looked around, nervous, confused. But it was no longer fear in her eyes. Just wonder. Jack handed her a warm drink. She sniffed it first, then took a small sip. Her face relaxed. "Not poison, see?" Jack joked. She didn't understand the words, but she saw his grin. After a moment, she gave him a tiny smile back. Vance tapped his chest. "Jack," she pointed at him. "Jack." Then she touched her own chest. "Scene. Nice to meet you, Scene," he said. The silence between them wasn't awkward. It was peaceful. For the first time since finding her, Jack had a moment to breathe. He opened a drawer and pulled out a small translator device. It was old, but still worked. "This might help," he mumbled. He placed it near her ear and activated it. The device clicked, scanned her voice, and then repeated her name back in English. "Scene, female, species, unidentified." Jack laughed. "Well, at least we know you're a girl." She tilted her head. "Girl?" The translator repeated. "Yes," he said, pointing gently. "Girl," she said slowly, nodding. Jack sat beside her and tried to explain things using simple words, hand gestures, and smiles. Time passed like that, slow and soft. Scene repeated. Words after him. Ship, food, warm, safe. She touched her chest again. Alone, long. The translator caught it and translated. "I was alone. For long time." Jack's smile faded. He nodded slowly. "I figured." Scene looked away, her voice quiet. "They no want me." "Who?" Jack asked. Scene tried to speak more, but the words were hard. "People, my people. Wartime, I say no fight. I say stop, they say no." The translator struggled but managed. Jack's jaw clenched. "So they locked you up because you wanted peace?" Scene nodded. "Said I make others weak. Said I break order. I heal soldiers, I make war slow." Jack leaned back. He couldn't believe it. "So they punished you?" "For kindness." She didn't answer, but her eyes, shiny and full of emotion, told the truth. She looked at her hand. "No one touch. Many years. Only cold." Jack reached out slowly, gently, and held her hand. "You're not alone anymore." Her fingers curled around his. It was a quiet moment, but powerful. Later that day, Jack took her outside the ship. The storm had passed, and the sun lit the snow-covered planet. He gave her a coat and gloves. Scene stepped out slowly, eyes wide as she saw the sky for the first time in centuries. She reached up with both hands, tears in her eyes. "Sky, real." Jack watched her with a soft smile. "Yeah, it's real." She turned to him. "You, real." He chuckled. "Very real." Then, without warning, she wrapped her arms around him. Jack froze, surprised. She had never touched him like this before. It wasn't out of fear. It wasn't out of need. It was her way of saying thank you. He hugged her back, not tightly, not in a rush. Just enough to show he was there. When she pulled away, she said something quietly. The translator spoke for her. "You made me feel like I matter." Jack blinked. Those words, simple, soft, hit him hard. He had saved many things in his scavenger life. Old tech, broken machines, lost tools. But Scene wasn't a machine. She was someone who had been thrown away by her own kind just because she chose to heal, not hurt. And now, with just a little kindness, she was starting to believe she had value again. Back inside the ship, Scene stared out the window at the stars. Her fingers pressed softly against the glass. She spoke slowly. "I want to see more." Jack looked at her. "You will," he promised. "You'll see everything." She turned and smiled, this time fully, and Jack knew in that moment, this journey was no longer just about salvage. It was about her. Hunted again, the stars outside the ship sparkled like cold fire, silent and endless. Scene sat by the window, her fingers tracing invisible lines on the glass. Jack sat in the pilot's chair, scanning for nearby planets. They had been traveling for days now. He wanted to find a quiet world where she could walk freely, breathe fresh air, and not fear the walls of another cage. Scene had started smiling more, speaking more. Her voice was soft, her words slow, but Jack could feel her spirit returning, like ice melting from her heart. But peace never lasted long in his line of work. That morning, the ship's alarm beeped sharply. "Unidentified vessel approaching," said the ship's computer. Jack narrowed his eyes. No beacon. No ID. Scene looked at him, confused. "What is it?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he opened the radar display. A small red dot blinked rapidly, getting closer. Trouble. He said it last. Within minutes, the strange ship appeared in view, sleek, black and armed. Jack recognized the design. "Bounty hunter," he muttered. "They must have picked up your signal somehow." Scene backed away from the window. Her skin grew pale. "No, no again." Jack stood quickly. "Scene, listen to me. I won't let them take you." "But they always come," she whispered, her voice shaking. "They say I am dangerous, that I must disappear." Jack grabbed a small blaster and looked her in the eyes. "You're not dangerous, you're just different. And now you're with me." He guided her to the back of the ship, where the engine core hummed gently. "Stay here. If anything happens, you escape through the emergency pod. Understand?" Scene nodded slowly, tears forming in her eyes. "Don't die." Jack gave her a half smile. "I'll try not to." The enemy ship hailed them. "Attention scavenger vessel," a cold voice said. "You are harboring stolen property. Turn over the subject, and you will not be harmed." Jack turned on the comm. "She's not property. She's not for sale. Get lost." There was a pause. Then the attack began. Lasers hit the ship's shields, rocking the cabin. Jack swerved hard, diving into an asteroid field nearby. The small rocks provided cover. He flew with skill, dashing, spinning, dodging, but the enemy ship was faster. Inside the engine room, Scene held onto the wall, shaking with fear. Her mind screamed with memories, cold labs, metal cuffs, the way they called her unit instead of a name. She didn't want to go back. Not again. Something inside her chest sparked. A warmth, a pulse. Her skin began to glow faintly like it had in the capsule long ago. She stood up straight. "No more hiding," she whispered. Meanwhile, Jack's ship was hit. A warning light blinked red. The shield was breaking. Smoke rose from the dashboard. Sparks flew. Then, a sudden soft hum filled the ship. Scene entered the cockpit, her body glowing slightly, eyes burning with light. "Scene?" Jack coughed. "What are you doing?" She touched his shoulder. "I can help." Jack blinked. "How?" She moved to the center of the ship and raised her hands. Light pulsed from her skin into the walls. The ship's systems blinked. Energy surged. "Shields restored," the computer said. Then, without warning, a powerful wave of light exploded from the ship, silent but strong. The enemy ship spun out of control. Its weapons froze, its engine powered down. In moments, it drifted helplessly in space. Inside Jack's ship, silence returned. Scene collapsed to her knees. Jack rushed to her. "Scene, what did you do?" She looked up, breathing hard. "I stopped them." Jack stared at her, amazed. "That was some kind of energy pulse from you?" She nodded weakly. "My body, built for peace. I can stop machines, heal, protect." Jack helped her to the bed and gave her water. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because," she whispered, "those who feared peace locked me away." He sat beside her. "You're not a weapon. You're a miracle." She closed her eyes. "I didn't want to be alone again." "You won't be," Jack said. "I promise." She looked up at him, her voice shaky. "Why do you help me?" Jack paused. Then he answered quietly, "Because you deserve to be helped. You were never meant to be forgotten." She reached for his hand and held it tightly. "Then I will help you too." That night, under the stars, the hunter became the hunted, and the girl once locked away for her light finally began to shine. The memory lock Jack landed the ship on a quiet moon, hidden far beyond normal space lanes. The surface was dry and red, covered in dust and strange rock shapes. No cities, no signals, just silence. He stepped outside first, scanning the area. It was safe for now. Inside the ship, Scene sat near the back wall, holding a small device Jack had found in the storage room. It was old, a memory reader used by alien scientists long ago. She turned it slowly in her hands. Something about it felt familiar. Jack walked in, brushing dust off his jacket. "This place is clear. No one's tracking us. We've got time." Scene looked up, her voice soft. "This unlocks memory?" Jack nodded. "That's the idea. It might help you remember who you really are." She hesitated. "What if I don't want to remember?" Jack knelt in front of her. "That's okay. But if your memory holds answers, why they locked you away, what they were afraid of, maybe we can stop them from coming again." Scene slowly placed the reader on her head. Lights blinked. The ship dimmed. Jack stood still, watching her carefully. Her eyes closed. Her body relaxed. Then the reader glowed bright white, and the ship's AI began to speak. Memory link complete. A soft voice filled the room. A recording from the past. Subject, Scene, royal bloodline confirmed. Genetic code matched. Threat level, HIGH. Subject refuses war protocols. Healing ability interferes with combat efficiency. Recommendation, permanent stasis. Jack's face turned cold. Scene's body trembled. She is the last of her kind with the peace code in her cells. If activated, it may shut down weapons, machines, and even command signals. Subject must not awaken. The recording ended. Scene opened her eyes. "They feared me. Because I could stop them, not with violence, but peace." Jack sat beside her, stunned. "Your DNA carries something that shuts down war systems." She nodded. "My mother gave it to me before she died. It was meant to end the war, but others wanted power." Jack's heart burned. "So they froze you, buried you, made the galaxy forget." Scene looked at him, her eyes shining. "But you found me." He took her hand gently. "And I'd do it again." Scene stood up slowly, a quiet fire in her voice. "We must show them I'm not their tool. I'm not broken. I am not afraid anymore." Jack smiled. "Then let's make sure the galaxy hears your voice." They spent the next hours working together. Jack connected the ship's relay system. Scene uploaded the memory recording into a secure beacon. When it launched, it would carry her message across the stars to hidden allies, rebel networks, and anyone still searching for peace. But as they finished, the ship's radar lit up again. Jack's face tensed. "Incoming." Scene didn't flinch. "Then let them come." The enemy ship landed fast, larger this time. Not bounty hunters, soldiers. The same empire that locked her away. Jack looked at Scene. "We can still run." She shook her head. "No more running." She stepped outside alone, standing in the red dust. Her silver-blue skin glowed under the alien sun. Her hair blew gently in the dry wind. The soldiers aimed weapons. A commander shouted through a speaker, "Subject seen, stand down, return to custody, or be terminated." She said nothing. Jack stepped beside her. "They want to end this the same way they started it, with fear." Scene closed her eyes. Light pulsed from her chest, slow, steady, calm. The weapons powered down. The soldiers looked at each other in confusion. Their helmets sparked. Their legs trembled. One by one, they dropped their guns. Scene opened her eyes. "You don't have to fight anymore." The commander screamed orders. No one listened. His own armor flickered. His boots froze. He fell to his knees, powerless. Says Ian turned to Jack. "I remember now what I was made to be." Jack touched her arm. "What's that?" "A healer," she said. "But not just of wounds, of worlds." The beacon behind them launched into the sky, bright, fast, unstoppable. Her truth was now out, and the galaxy could no longer look away. Jack smiled. "So what now?" Scene looked at the stars, her voice calm and proud. "Now we free the others." Fire and trust. The red dust of the moon swirled around them as the last enemy ship left the surface, flying away without a fight. No one dared challenge Scene's light again. Not after what they saw. Jack stood beside her in the silence. His clothes were dirty, face marked with ash, but his eyes were steady. Scene stood tall, glowing faintly, the wind brushing against her silver-blue skin. They didn't speak for a while. They didn't need to. Back inside the ship, Jack placed a cloth over his burned arm. A blast from earlier had grazed him. He didn't make a sound, but the pain was there. Ian sat across from him, watching with soft eyes. She reached out slowly. "Let me see." Jack raised an eyebrow. "It's fine." She didn't pull back. "Please." Her hand touched his arm gently. Warm light passed from her fingers into his skin. The burn faded. His skin healed. He looked at her, surprised. "You didn't tell me you could do that," he said quietly. She smiled a little. "I told you, I heal." Jack stared at the smooth skin on his arm. "It doesn't even hurt anymore." "I don't want you to hurt," she said softly. "You saved me." "You saved me too," he replied. They sat in silence again. But this time, something felt different. Closer, stronger. Jack looked at her, his voice lower now. "When I first saw you in that pod, I thought you were just part of the ruins, lost, forgotten. But now I realize, maybe I was the one who was lost." Scene tilted her head. "You?" "I've spent years flying from one place to another, alone. No purpose, just chasing credits, scrap, always alone." He paused, "But then I met you." Scene's voice was soft. "I was never touched before. Never looked at like I mattered, until you." She placed her hand over his heart. "You don't see me as a tool or a weapon." Jack whispered, "Because you're not." She moved closer, her glowing eyes locked onto his. "Then what am I to you?" He didn't answer right away, but he didn't look away either. "You're someone worth everything." Scene blinked fast, her lips shaking slightly. "Even now, even after this, they'll keep coming. You'll always be hunted because of me." Jack nodded. Slowly. "Then let them come. I'm not leaving you." Tears filled her eyes. But she didn't cry. Instead, she leaned forward and pressed her forehead to his. It was the quietest gesture, but it meant everything. She had never done that to anyone before. That night, the ship floated above the quiet moon, and for the first time in a long time, Jack slept without worry. Scene sat beside him, keeping watch. She touched the wall of the ship and whispered to the stars, "Thank you for giving me him." The next morning, Jack woke to a blinking message on the screen. Beacon they had sent out had reached someone. Transmission received. Peace Alliance en route. Will arrive in 48 hours. Stay hidden. Do not engage with hostile forces, Jack smiled. Looks like someone's still fighting for peace. Scene walked in. What does it say? Help is coming, he said. Real help, but their relief didn't last long. Outside the radar blinked again. Jack frowned. That's not the Peace Alliance. Scene's face went pale. It's them, she said. A massive battleship appeared from hyperspace above the moon. Black and silent, no lights, no warnings. Scene stepped back. They brought the fire this time. Jack stood up, grabbing his gear. Then we fight fire with truth. Scene looked at him with fear in her eyes. I don't want to lose you. Jack took her hand firmly. Then don't let go. Outside, the enemy ship began to send drones to the surface. Jack turned to her. I'll handle the front. You do. What you do best, protect life. She nodded, her voice steady now. Together, always. They moved as one. Jack sprinted out the hatch, setting traps and luring the machines. He used smoke bombs, flash blasts, anything to slow them down. Meanwhile, Scene stood in the heart of the dust storm, arms raised. Light shot from her palms, soft but wide. Machines froze midair, falling like stones. The ground glowed where she walked. More drones came. Stronger ones, faster. Jack was hit, thrown to the ground. Bleeding. Sigh, En screamed. She ran to him and dropped beside his body. Her hands glowed, shaking, trembling. No, no, please. The light from her body surged brighter than ever before. A wave of pure white blasted from her chest, blinding. Warm, unstoppable. Every drone shut down. The enemy ship above blinked red. Systems failed. Weapons jammed. Inside the dead silence, Jack gasped, alive. He opened his eyes, saw her crying, glowing, holding him. You came back, he whispered. I never left, she said. And this time. She kissed his forehead. Not out of fear, not because she was told, but because it was her choice. The final embrace. The battlefield was quiet now. The black enemy ship hung in the sky, dead, powerless. Its lights were gone, its weapons frozen. On the ground, broken drones lay scattered like fallen insects, their metal shells dark and useless. In the center of it all, Jack lay in the dust, cradled gently in Scene's arms. His eyes fluttered open as sunlight broke through the clouds. You're still here, he whispered, voice weak but steady. I told you, Scene said softly, her glowing hands resting on his chest. I will never leave you. He smiled faintly. That light, you saved everyone. I didn't know I could, she said, but when I saw you hurt, something inside me broke free. Jack sat up with her help, groaning a little. His shirt was torn, his arm wrapped in a quick bandage. But his strength was returning. They both looked to the sky as another ship approached, sleek, white, peaceful. It landed gently near the wreckage. Peace Alliance had arrived. From the ship, 3 figures stepped out, humans and aliens, dressed not in armor, but in flowing silver and blue robes. One of them bowed low to Scene. We received your message, the leader said. You are the heir of the Peace Code, the one we've been searching for. Scene blinked. You knew of me? For centuries, the leader replied. You were buried and hidden, but your light has returned. You are not forgotten. Jack stood beside her. She's more than some code. She's a person, and she's free now. The leader smiled. Of course, she chooses her path. No one will touch her without her consent again. Scene looked around at the silent battlefield. They came to kill, but I stopped them without killing back. Is that enough? It is more than enough, the leader said gently. It is hope. Jack looked at Scene, pride glowing in his eyes. Told you. You're not a weapon. You're a healer, a guide. The Peace Alliance offered Scene a place among them, a voice of peace for a broken galaxy. But Scene shook her head gently. Not yet, she said. There's something else I must do first. They respected her choice. Later that evening, as the sun set across the red dust fields, Scene and Jack sat on a rocky ledge. The breeze was soft. Stars began to appear above them. "I never thought I'd make it out of that pod," Scene said. Jack glanced at her. "I never thought I'd care about anything more than money." She laughed quietly. "And now?" Jack looked at her seriously. "Now I care about you." Scene didn't answer right away. She placed her hand on his fingers, locking together. "Like puzzle pieces. I want to go with you," she said. "Where you go, I go. You're sure?" he asked. "I've seen enough walls," she said. "I want to see stars. And I want to see them with you." Jack smiled wide. "Then let's start right now." They returned to the ship, no longer just a junk vessel, but now a symbol of freedom. The Peace Alliance repaired its systems and gave them a new registry. The Dawnlight. Before they left, the leader of the Alliance handed Scene a small pendant. Inside it was a glowing crystal, the very essence of her peace code. "This is yours now. Wear it when you choose to guide others. Or hide it when you choose. To rest, you are in control." Scene nodded, accepting it with grace. She turned to Jack and slipped the pendant around her neck. "I'm ready." As the ship lifted into the sky, the stars above welcomed them. The world behind them grew small, but the future ahead stretched wide like an open sea dot in the cockpit. Jack flew with steady hands. Scene sat beside him, leaning her head against his shoulder. Her body no longer trembled. Her eyes no longer searched the room in fear. She was not hidden anymore. She was not untouched. She was seen. She was loved. And in that silence, above 1,000 worlds, she finally felt like she mattered, not because of what she could do, but because someone had simply cared enough to hold her and never let go.